All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders, where we talk to founders about their companies, their business for the future, and how the two collide. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to Jason Kim, who's a co-founder of Ketl. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Looking forward to learning more about what you are working on. For people that haven't heard of your company, what is Ketl?
Awesome. So Kettle is our product. It's an anonymous social app that's built for founders and venture capitalists. We verify people through zero knowledge cryptography and allow them to kind of talk anonymously about various topics, share insights without real consequences to their main identity. And this is useful because, founders and VCs, they have a lot of dicey topics that can't really be discussed out in the open, but maybe is better suited for group chats or direct messaging. But Kettle exists to kind of bring that information out into the playing field and allow people to learn kind of what's being discussed behind closed doors.
So if someone was to use the product or kind of sign up, can you kind of walk us through the user experience on what that looks like and how they find groups to partake in, how they start their own groups, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. So right now, there's only one group that we are curating. But in the future, there's going to be many different ways that users can start their own groups or kind of fine tune different communities. But for now, we're building the first community on Kettle. And right now, we're just on test flight and the Google Play Store equivalent. So users can download the app off of the test store or Google Play Store if they have an Android device. They just download the app, and if they're a kind of YC founder, they can automatically get onboarded because we have a list of YC companies and founders pre-vetted. But if they're a founder or a venture capitalist, they'll need to kind of fill out a form to get into the allow list for the app. And depending on what type of credential you have, so let's say I'm a YC founder, then I can just automatically get onboarded as the anonymous YC founder into the app. Or if I'm a venture capitalist, I can verify, let's say, my VC email, and we check whether or not that VC email is part of a list of a group of VCs. Let's say, hey, you're part of a group that manages 1 billion AUM, for example. Then we onboard you as an anonymous VC that works at $1 billion fund. And this allows you to have credibility within the community, but keep your identity private. And yeah, the onboarding is pretty seamless. You just enter an email or you authenticate a Twitter account, and we just check that against a pre-existing list, and you could seamlessly use the app after onboarding gets completed.
Sounds very useful. I like a lot of parts of it. I am curious where the idea came from. What's the origin story for Ketl, and why did you decide to work on this product and kind of get into this space?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I've been working in startups for almost a decade now. And ever since the first company that I worked on, I realized there's a lot of information asymmetry in this space. So, for example, if you're raising a pre-seed round, there's a fog of war, which kind of prevents a lot of founders from knowing, hey, like what's the baseline valuation on a company? Like what are standard terms when joining an accelerator? And I realized having a space where these things can be discussed out in the open would allow kind of the power imbalances that exist in the space to be leveled out. So our main goal was mostly coming from the founder perspective, where we're either negotiating with vendors or VCs or lawyers and realize, hey, there isn't really a good space to kind of discuss like key terms or key issues. Because like let's say like if I was actively negotiating with a VC and they tried to kind of wedge a specific like side letter into a deal. And then I went on my LinkedIn account and was like, "Hey, is this normal?" Then I would kind of give up my cards. And so by building kind of an anonymous app, we wanted to kind of allow founders and VCs to have a space to kind of discuss that out in the open. And I realized nothing like that existed today. There's a ton of Slack groups, ton of LinkedIn communities or Twitter communities or Reddit communities based on startups or VCs. But there isn't a space that kind of marries like anonymity or pseudonymity with verification. And we wanted to be the first product in the space for founders and VCs that accomplishes that.
And as you're building out this first group, and and plan to do more over time, I am curious, like, where are you spending your time on the company like today? Like, are you fundraising? Are you recruiting founders or investors? Like, are you building the product? What's an average day look like for you if you had to pick an average day?
Yeah, an average day is wearing many different hats, everything from recruiting users. Right now, we have over 200 YC founders slash VC slash venture back founders on the product today. But we're trying to scale that up to 1,000 users as quickly as possible. So recruiting users, spending a lot of time marketing, and yeah, the rest of the time goes into mostly just working on products, feature updates, and figuring out kind of various different aspects with like design or like making sure the retention is good, making sure the app is running. But for me personally, I do a lot of little things, like a lot of the grunt work, hopping on calls with legal or different government agencies or doing accounting so that my co-founder he spends more time like in the code, for example, or a designer spends most of the time on design so that kind of the rest of the team can focus on um, their individual kind of areas for the product.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like the CEO, like founder, founder, co-founder type is just like jack of all trades, master of none, doing all the stuff.
For
I'm
sure.
curious, but as you like kind of take all the work you're doing now, look out into the future, what do you see this looking like in a while, like 5, 10, 15 years? Can you kind of outline the vision that you have for Kettle and what you see it looking like in a decade or two?
Yeah, for sure. We want to be so the innovation around Kettle is twofold. One, it's how we do the verification, and this is different from Blind or Fishbowl or Glassdoor or any of our other competitors because we do verification through this area of cryptography called ZK or zero knowledge. And we really want to be one of the leaders in this space. And so zero knowledge is the area of cryptography that allows you to verify information without doxing yourself or revealing more information than you need to. And it's been around for a couple decades in like research, but it's really coming into production um, and users kind of now. And so we want to be at the forefront of that. On top of that, while for users, our app just looks like any other consumer app or social app, our entire backend infrastructure of the app is actually decentralized. So we're one of the first kind of fully decentralized consumer applications that users are using to kind of converse. And why that matters is because our goal is to remove, information asymmetry. Usually there's a lot of um, censorship or kind of power grabs that happen in the space. If you kind of look up Glassdoor legal action, you'll realize that Glassdoor censors 90% of bad reviews so that employers could look good. And our goal is to kind of become the go-to resource for any working professional to figure out kind of hard questions, information asymmetry, like, salary info, um, benefits or interview processes, et cetera, and become the number one resource for any workplace. And so that is kind of the grand vision. is to become kind of the number one anonymous, verified resource for any working professional in the future. Right now, we're starting with founders and VCs, which is a very, very small portion of working professionals. But eventually, we want to tackle kind of every single workspace that can exist.
And in order to make that happen and bring it to life, like you'll need some help, right? It takes a village to make a startup work and scale. So my question for you is, how can the forward-thinking founders community help? Are you hiring? Are you raising money? Looking for more users or partners? Like, how can we assist here?
Yeah, for sure. So right now, I think the number one thing is to just hop onto the platform. And so go to ketl.xyz to try the app. And if you're not a YC founder or a VC that works at $1 billion fund, you can just directly fill out a form or message me to get onboarded onto the platform. And yeah, right now, the number one near-term goal is to get to 1,000 users. We need 780 more in order to do that. And so that's the most immediate thing that the forward-thinking founders community could help with. And I think it could be actually a great resource for any founder part of the network. A lot of the topics that are being discussed are things like, series in 2023, what sort of terms are normal, what are kind of like going rates for various vendors that you might negotiate with, like a Datadog or like a email ERP platform, etc. And so it's actually a very useful tool to kind of get to the truth of it all when it comes to various topics.
Absolutely. I'll definitely share it with tons of founders that have been on and people that listen, because I do think it's a valuable idea and valuable network to be a part of. And then for my last question, if someone wanted to check it out, sign up themselves, fill out that form, where can they find you? Remind us what's the website one more time. Is there a social media, email address? Like, how can people connect with the brand if they want to learn more?
Yeah, for sure. So if they want to connect with the brand, they could go to our website, ketl.xyz, and that's ketl.xyz, or KETLXYZ on Twitter. I'm also on Twitter, and my username is Jason, JASONKIMVC, and anyone can message me there. And kind of our company website is bwl.gg for Big Whale Labs. So if they want to figure out more information on like the overall company rather than the product, they can go there.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And hopefully we can help some forward-thinking founders out with any dicey questions or things that they may be going through.
100%.